Hi everyone, I'm Kimberly Truler and welcome to Out and About, a series on GlamAmor where I take you to explore places around Southern California whose history reflects my passion for classic cinema and its incredible style. Today, we're at the Annenberg Community Beach House in Santa Monica. It may not sound like old Hollywood, but it is. This is the site of the former estate that publisher William Randolph Hearst built for 20s and 30s screen star Marion Davies. So join me now, getting to know the beautiful Marion Davies, exploring her jewel of a property along the California Gold Coast, and learning how the city of Santa Monica is continuing to build on her great legacy. Most people don't know Marion Davies as well as her contemporaries like Jean Harlow and Joan Crawford. And unfortunately, she may be best known for a movie in which she never appeared, Orson Welles' Citizen Kane. Though perhaps the best movie ever made, the powerful allegory based on Hearst's life is often mistaken for historical fact. One of the areas that this happens most is with the character of Kane's mistress, Susan Alexander. But that caricature could not be farther from the beauty, talent, or generosity exuded by the real Marion Davies. From the vivacious Ziegfeld girl that Hearst fell in love with in New York, Marion shifted her many talents into a successful silent movie career, producing pictures and acting, finally getting to display her natural gift for comedy in the late 1920s. In fact, she became the first screwball comedienne in film, paving the way for others like Carole Lombard and Lucille Ball later on. And despite a stutter that concerned Marion all of her life, she also triumphed in her transition to talkies in the 30s and acted with the very best, including Gary Cooper and Clark Gable. Make no mistake, even with all of Hearst's money and influence, it was really Marion's talent that made her a star. In addition to acting, Marion believed in having fun and sharing her good fortune with everyone. As a result, she really set the star style scene for Hollywood in the 20s and 30s. Her parties with Hearst were famous, maybe even infamous, inviting wave after wave of people to stay at both San Simeon and the beach house here in Santa Monica. They regularly threw the most extraordinary costume parties you can imagine. Guests were the A-list of old Hollywood: Greta Garbo, Bette Davis, Charlie Chaplin, Cary Grant, and on and on. In 1937, Marion retired from films to be a full-time companion to Hearst, staying by his side until his death in 1951. Throughout it all, she was known as the most generous woman in Hollywood, always giving of herself and her resources to help others in need. Because of her magical combination of talent and altruism, Tennessee Williams once said, "Marion Davies makes up for the rest of Hollywood." And so join me now, out and about, as I get to know all about Marion Davies from my special guest, Docent Kay Pattison, while she shows me around the extraordinary Annenberg Community Beach House. Thanks for joining us, Kay. Kay's been a resident of Santa Monica for more than 30 years and a docent here at the Annenberg Beach House since it opened over 2 years now?
We're in our third year.
So what is it about Marion Davies that you're so passionate about?
Oh, so many things. Her brilliance, her effervescence,
yes,
her joy.
So let's take them back to the 1930s. What was the beach house like then?
Of course, the mansion and the pool that's still there.
Yep.
There were 2 other guest houses on the south side.
In addition to the one we're in.
And this guest house was the last structure built on the property, started about late 28, 29.
So let's talk about the main house first.
Well, it was well over 100 rooms.
Wow.
We're not absolutely certain because Julia Morgan, who had the architectural drawings, they were lost.
And she was the same architect that did San Simeon.
She was his primary architect. The interior was very much like Hearst Castle.
Opulent.
Very opulent. Not one's idea of a typical beach house.
Right.
Many rooms were bought in Europe and transported wholly here. I'm talking about the ceilings, the paneling. For instance, the dining room.
Yes.
He purchased it in France and had it shipped here. There was a library with paneling from Grinling Gibbons, the 18th century woodworker.
What was the purpose of the guest house?
Well, so this was a little private space that she had built with her family in mind. But sometimes she rented it. For instance, Marlene Dietrich lived in this house.
Fantastic.
For a year when she first came to Hollywood. We know that Gloria Swanson is said to have occupied this house, and the Kennedys. So this was a house that was really meant for people to live in more than to be guests.
So we've moved into the beautiful dining room at the guest house, and we're surrounded by pictures of Mr. Hearst and Marion having fun. Let's talk a little bit about their relationship first.
I would say it was one of the great love stories and romances of the 20th century. It's a story of an infatuation that grew into a deep and abiding love. They were together for 35 years, never married, but devoted to one another. She brought the fun out of him.
Yes. So we talked about Marion and Mr. Hearst really enjoying having fun with one another, and one of the ways that they did this was with their famous parties.
They were fabulous. We're in the dining room, and on the walls are some photographs taken at the various costumes parties that were held every year on Hearst's birthday, April 29th. They would invite 2,000 people.
Wow.
And you didn't even have to have your own costume because they would bring out trunk loads of costumes from the Western Costume Company.
What were some of the themes of the party?
Well, there's a photograph here of Joan Crawford and Douglas Fairbanks.
This one?
Jr., her then husband.
Yes.
And this was a come-as-a-child party.
Yes.
Marion's very favorite was the circus party. She brought out a carousel from Warner Brothers Studios.
Yeah.
She wanted to keep the carousel. She enjoyed it so much because one of her favorite things to do was to go to amusement parks. She and Carol Lombard and Clark Gable liked amusement parks, and they used to go to the piers, either the Venice Pier or the Santa Monica Pier, and they liked to ride the roller coaster. And then there's a picture at that same party of Marion and Mary Pickford, very close friends. The two wealthiest women in Hollywood.
The queens
the queens of Hollywood.
Well, one of the stories that I heard about the American costume party, and I think it's my favorite story, is when Norma Shear came to the American costume party dressed as Marie Antoinette, and the double rub of that was a role that Marion and Hearst had really petitioned for, and Norma, being the wife of Irving Thalberg, got it.
She had this big skirt on. They had to take down some doors to get her in to the ballroom.
Yes.
And then they had to have 3 chairs for her to sit on because it took up so much space. So she was very deliberate about wearing that costume.
Well, and I think that the costume parties also show really how open they were, particularly Marion, the open door that she had, the open heart that she had. So why don't you share a little bit about how generous she was?
Well, her generosity was partially giving of her time and herself, and then, of course, of her money. People need to understand, Marion made a lot of money herself.
Yes.
Not given to her by Hearst. She took that money, she became very interested in children's issues, so she started a children's clinic. It's in West LA, the building is still there. Then she gave $2 million to UCLA to start the UCLA Children's Clinic. There's still a Marion Davies building there. But her generosity also was in being aware of what was going on in other people's lives.
So now we're in the extraordinary entryway of the guest house, and anytime I come in here, it's so well done that it's hard to remember that a renovation actually took place. So let's talk first, what was the renovation of the entire property like?
Everything in the house The floors and all of the walls have been restored the way they were in 1929 when this house was built. And if you look at the staircase,
Yes.
this is an exact replica of the staircase in the mansion. Except the staircase in the mansion was two sides.
Sure.
Julia Morgan used exactly the same design. So many features in this house echo the
main
features
house.
in the mansion.
What about the chandelier?
The chandeliers are original. We're so lucky to have them. They're from Tiffany in New York.
Wow.
All of the chandeliers downstairs in the house, and we are so fortunate to have this beautiful Julia Morgan house.
Yes. Now, one of my favorite parts of the house it's actually the bathrooms, the lily pad bathroom in particular.
Those are gorgeous tiles. We've had many tile experts look at them. Julia Morgan ordered them from Italy. She did the design.
So, Kay, we're at the pool, which is one of the two original structures still here from the original house. Talk to us about the materials that went into the pool that Julia Morgan brought in.
Yes, Julia Morgan designed this pool when Hearst had been told he couldn't have a pool here by his first architect, whom he fired. And later Julia came down, and look what she did. We have a pool.
Wow.
Why not? The decking of the pool
Yes.
is marble from a quarry in Vermont. Look at the beautiful tiles around the bottom rim, the fish tiles. They're absolutely gorgeous.
Incredible.
And those were ordered from Italy. So we do know that's where those came from.
And what famous people have swum in this pool?
So many. Besides, of course, all the famous actors who were out here, but Charles Lindbergh and Albert Einstein.
No.
Yes, Albert Einstein. The Kennedy family was here.
What are some of the public uses of the Annenberg Community Beach House now?
Well, I want to take this opportunity to give accolades to Frederick Fisher and his company, because it's his vision, really. And he wanted to tie the past and the present together.
Yes.
And he wanted to echo the past. He wanted to offer a place where people could build their own memories.
Yes.
And diversity.
Yes.
That's one thing that Wallace Annenberg stressed. She wanted it diverse. She wanted it for the entire family. And the house is open. We have 3 tours, 11, 12, and 1 o'clock.
What is the one thing that you would like people to know or remember about Marion Davies herself?
Marion Davies was one of the most remarkable women of Hollywood history. She unfortunately was forgotten. Her reputation was damaged by Citizen Kane.
Yes.
We took Marion out of the shadows and put her back here by the pool in the sunlight where she belongs.
Yes.
And I know that Marion would be delighted at what's going on here today.
And I think she deserves it.
Absolutely deserves to be saluted and remembered as a very special person she was.
Well, speaking of special people, I think you are one too. So thank you so much for spending your time and your passion and your experience with us.
It was a pleasure for me to do it, to talk about Marion and make her live again.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks for joining me while out and about at the Annenberg Community Beach House. I hope you enjoyed getting to know the beautiful and talented Marion Davies. I encourage you to check out her movies. Both her silent and talking films are a joy to watch, and I know you'll come away wondering why she isn't a bigger star today. To learn even more about her, watch Elena Archer's great documentary, Captured on Film, The True Story of Marion Davies. I'll also be posting a companion piece on GlamAmor.com with many more photos and details about her incredible life. And be sure to visit the Annenberg Community Beach House in Santa Monica as well. If you want to learn more, including times to take a guided tour, you can go to AnnenbergBeachHouse.com. As you've seen today, it's an incredible place, a combination of historical preservation and a modern, environmentally conscious public space. And it's on the beach. What could be better? And so, until next time, out and about, so long.